This is APYouthNet.
Welcome to the APYouthNet talk show, where we look at key issues regarding youth employment in Asia and the Pacific. From the International Labour Organization, I'm Matthew Koniak. While many young people aspire to become entrepreneurs, most do not really know where to start. And in fact, many are misguided. They are misguided in two ways: because of a lack of awareness at school, but also because they hear more about the success stories related to entrepreneurship than about the failures of small businesses, which in many countries go as high as 90% in the first year of operation. In developing countries as well, entrepreneurship is often the reflect of a lack of options of these young people rather than that of a life choice. To talk about this and more, I have the great pleasure to welcome Carol Roth on the show today. Carol Roth is a well-known business strategist. She's also the author of the New York Times bestseller and the Wall Street Journal bestseller, The Entrepreneur Equation. She has worked with hundreds of companies, ranging from single entrepreneurs to large Fortune 500 companies in all aspects of businesses and financial strategy. And she's also a contributor for CNBC.
Absolutely, Marie. You cannot tax your way into prosperity.
Where she covers business, the economy, and politics.
I want to have one name for who you think right now will be the nominee.
I'm voting for you, Piers.
So, Carol, once again, thank you so much for joining us on the APYouthNet talk show today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
I'd like to start by putting us in the context. We are in the middle of a youth employment crisis, 73 million young people looking for work around the world, 36 million in this region of Asia and the Pacific. The crisis is so vast, it's so intense that many point to entrepreneurship as one of the key remedies, as one of the key solutions. In fact, many say that entrepreneurship is the solution to youth employment. As we know it, it's part of the solution. But I'd like to hear your views, perhaps as those that you have expressed in your book, The Entrepreneur Equation. Is entrepreneurship the solution to youth employment?
I think the challenge is that we hear a lot about entrepreneurs and we hear these amazing success stories, especially nowadays with technology. Overnight, there are people who become multimillionaires and in some cases billionaires, but those are still the exception. They're not the rule. And a lot of youth who don't have the experience, they haven't worked before, they don't have a lot of money in the bank, they don't have all of the critical tools to be able to be successful, feel like they can go out and just start a business because everybody else has done it. And they're hearing these exceptions to the rules and taking them as the probability instead of the possibility. So I really advocate doing the preparation and going back to where we started this with the quote unquote decent job or just getting your foot in the door. If you have a certain area of business that you're interested in, whether it's being a merchant, whether it's working and opening a restaurant, whether it's technology, why not go and work for another business first and test your idea out on the side, or get some information over a couple of years, find out what you like and you don't like, and put some money away so that you have the ability to be able to start the business from that point of strength. And I think that one of the things that people really don't think about is that when you start a business, not only do you have to have enough money to start the business, but you have to have enough money to fund the business, and you have to have enough money to live on. So a lot of times these entrepreneurs, whether they're young or even a bit more experienced, they don't give themselves the right tools, enough money, enough runway, enough time to be able to be successful. And you are literally setting yourself up for failure. So while I'm a strong proponent of entrepreneurship, I really do think that there is a smarter way to go about it, a way to manage the risks and rewards. And even a lot of the success stories that we hear about, people like Bill Gates from Microsoft, people think that he was really a risk taker and he quit college, but the reality is he wasn't. He took the risk out of the equation. He had orders lined up. He was in college. He didn't leave until he had the software developed, the relationship set up, and he had taken the risk out at every step. So I really think that the conversation around entrepreneurship needs to be morphed and changed.
Yeah, I think it's great. And I think it's great that the young people actually hear those stories of Bill Gates and also of others. Now, you were talking about the preparation of these young people. And I can't agree with you more that it's important for young people to be introduced to the world of work at an early age, maybe through internships, through apprenticeship programs, even discussing it with their parents around the dinner table so they actually have an idea of what work is about, because maybe they don't hear it enough. But it's also perhaps in the preparation, I'm not sure, I'd like to have a view on that, something useful for them to be introduced to what is entrepreneurship when they're still at school, as opposed to the day that they want to become an entrepreneur.
I completely agree. And I think it's not just entrepreneurship, but it's business skills, it's life skills, and financial preparedness. I know that for a lot of the schools here in the United States, people don't even learn about their checking accounts and balancing a checkbook. And I can't speak to everywhere else in the world, but those basic financial management tools are critical to being able to run a business successfully.
Now, if I transport this discussion back to the developing world, I know you're in Chicago and in the US, but we are in Bangkok, in the heart of Southeast Asia, and we are in a place, as we were discussing, where most people become entrepreneurs out of lack of options. They don't have many other opportunities. And unfortunately for them, becoming an entrepreneur is extremely far from Bill Gates becoming an entrepreneur or any other for that matter. For them, it means a lot of times informality and working poverty.
Sure. Well, I liken the entrepreneurship in the developing world to the state of small businesses in the United States, because within the United States, you have the high-flying tech and big entrepreneurship businesses, but actually most of the businesses are small businesses. They earn less than $100,000 a year in revenue, which I know is a lot for the developing world, but vis-a-vis what we hear about. And a lot of them don't see a profit over their lifetime. So there is a big struggle. 9 out of 10 of them fail within 5 years. So there's still a big struggle within the small business community. And I think that from a developing world standpoint, one of the best practices that you can have as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, is building relationships. That I feel like the people who are most successful as entrepreneurs don't do it themselves. You may feel like you're doing it all yourself, but you really have a great network. So it really does come back to interpersonal skills. And that's why sometimes the smartest person isn't the best entrepreneur. It's the person who's really good with the people skills, who has the ability to connect with other people, to sell the products, to build those relationships.
Now, in your role as not only as an entrepreneur, as a commentator, but also in your role as a business strategist, you surely are aware of the trends, of what's going on. What are, the magic question, the $1 million question is, I suppose, what are the jobs of the future?
I think it's very difficult to say what the world's going to look like 5, 10, or even 15 years from now. But I think that there are certain skill sets that are always really, really important. One are the financial skill sets. If you understand finances and business and accounting, those skills are always in demand. And I actually feel like they're going to be more in demand because they're certainly not as, how shall I say, as sexy and as well accepted these days post the financial crisis that we had globally a few years ago as they were 10 or 15 years ago. So I think a lot of youth are shying away from those, which means that there are going to be more openings and more needs and more demand for those. But there's always going to be a need for understanding financial skills, whether you're working directly in finance or if you work in a different business who just needs that strong financial manager in their business. So I think that that's certainly an important set of skills. I certainly think that sales and marketing is always going to be important. Even though we have the internet and social media and all different ways to get the word out, you still have to know about building relationships. You still have to understand how to sell a product, and the people who can help businesses get their products in the hands of the customers, those skills are always going to be in demand. And then, of course, the ones that everybody talk about, what we call the STEM, the science, technology, engineering, and math skills. Certainly, I don't see those going away anytime soon. The specific practical applications may change. The coding languages may change. But the thought process of coding, whether you're using one language or another, just the logic flow that you need, and math is certainly going to be there. And with an aging population in many countries, healthcare is going to be very important.
And of course, it helps when you have some people advising you around, when you have some employment service centers, career guidance, information provided at your school, at your university, at your vocational training center.
And ask everybody, ask everyone. Don't be, I think a lot of people have this idea about a mentor, that they're going to have one person who's going to take them under their wing and provide the support for the career. Forget about having one mentor. Do the 1 minute mentorship. Take 1 minute, one piece of information from everybody that you can, the widest range of people, and the resources that are provided to you. And it's having access to all of that information that's going to make you successful, not sitting around and waiting for one person who's going to give you that big break.
Look, Carol, it's been great. I want to thank you again so much. I'm so glad we had you on the show. Extremely insightful. I look forward to welcoming you again in the future on the APYouthNet. And until then, you can log on the apyouthnet.ilo.org. And that's it from now from Bangkok. See you next time. Goodbye.
This has been an APYouthNet production.